welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is with an old friend of mine from a long time ago. We haven't connected in a long time. She's one of our certified sports life coaches and just doing amazing things. And I said, I want to share you with our world. So Helen, thank you so much for joining and just being a part of really figuring out how to go from impossible to I'm possible. That's our theme this season.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here and looking forward to sharing some of the stories and experiences I've had. I'm currently working as the Women in High Performance Sport lead for High Performance Sport New Zealand. So I'm very grateful to be helping women succeed, go from the impossible to the I'm possible in the high performance sport world, in the world of coaching, leadership, and creating environments where people can thrive. So that's my role at this point in time. But how did I get here? I'm by nature a coach. So I played sports at school when I was at high school, and I was encouraged to coach as a premier athlete. And that led me down a path to become a physical education teacher and an educator. But what I learned during that journey was the power was in coaching, and we really got to connect with the students that we taught through sport. So absolutely love that. And when I had my two beautiful children as a mother, I pursued a career in coaching. So I would call myself a lifelong coach, coached in the community, school, club, that sort of thing, and then just wanted to be the best I could be, I suppose, and worked my way to a level of coaching in high performance space. I worked as a performance life advisor with High Performance Sport New Zealand, where we got to meet, and some of the strategies and skills I learned have been fantastic on my sports coaching journey. And then I pursued a professional coaching career in the sport of netball here in New Zealand and coached a team called the Northern Mystics to the national title, which was really exciting.
Can we just celebrate? Victory dance, baby. Yeah, let's
celebrate.
Exactly. Celebrate. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, really cool. And I guess the exciting thing about winning the national title wasn't really the title, but the journey and the stories and the learning that goes along to get there. We had been a team full of talent historically, and we had never achieved. So it was the inaugural title for our team, and over 24 years have been a professional sort of elite sporting team. So it was a massive achievement for the players and for the staff to just work together to achieve something we'd been working hard towards. I've also had the experience of coaching netball at a New Zealand level, so was lucky enough to coach the New Zealand Fast Five teams in the World Series to win that title.
I'm out to win that. Just a casual little, victory dance. Gotta celebrate. I don't want to throw those championships in like they're nothing. I mean, those are huge, and it's just such a journey from I'm impossible to I'm possible. There's so many of those stories. Yes, keep going. I just wanted to celebrate you.
Oh, thank you. And just really, I think the thing I've enjoyed the most about being a coach is not actually the titles, it's seeing the people that you work with reach their potential that they didn't realize was possible for themselves. So feel very grateful for doing that. And now I get to do that across a different landscape, coach women across all sports in New Zealand to try and achieve, Olympic glory, World Championships glory, so in their chosen sport. So really excited to put my skills to work in a different space.
Well, and I just love the journey you've been on. And I want to talk about your career in terms of where you started. I know that you've always been incredibly intentional about your choices, honoring really your three-dimensional person, who you are personally, professionally, and philanthropically, and being a great mom and partner and friend, and also winning those championships, not from a championship perspective, but just winning in life and being intentional about it. So as we go on the journey through your career, what have been kind of the way you've done it, the winning strategies to go in your career from impossible to I'm possible?
I think the biggest learning for me is to be vulnerable and be okay with learning through experience. So experiential learning is massive for me. And if you think about just giving things a go and being brave and intentional about giving it a go, whether you succeed or whether there's a mistake, there's an opportunity to grow and learn from it. And that's really easily said in practice, like in talking here. Sorry, it's really easily said, but in practice, it can be quite challenging, especially when you're working in a world of high performance and the expectations on all the external things around you are there and sitting on your shoulder, and you feel responsible for that. So I think my biggest learning and the thing that has helped me be successful is how we bring everybody along on the journey. How do we do this together? And it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to share what those vulnerabilities are or the learnings are to get to where we all want to be. Because ultimately, when you're working in a team, you all want the same thing to reach your potential. So giving ourselves permission to do that's been a massive learning and something that I've tried to stay true to.
And how have you done that? Like you said, it's an easy thing to talk about. It's very, very intentional and courageous to be able to do it. And also you have to be in a safe environment. You have to really have a team of people around you that believe in that kind of support. And so some stories or just winning strategies on how you've done it.
Yeah, I think first thing I kind of recruit or get the people in the team based on character. So the person comes first at all times, not their talent, because talent, everybody has talent, and that's just one of the things we have to unlock the door to opportunity. So character, work ethic, you know, what are your strategies to try and win, and what does winning mean to you? It's not about the scoreboard only. There's winning and success and growth and learning and supporting others along the journey. But I guess that the barrier or the thing that was the biggest challenge for me was we talked about these things a lot, but how does that display in your actions and your behaviors? So after talking to a psychologist who was working with me and the team, we talked about that moment of when's that moment that you've just nailed it and you're like, this is a winning strategy. I've just nailed it. I need to repeat this over and over again, and you feel really good about yourself. Or when is it that moment where you're going, oh my gosh, I've just stuffed that up, but you own the fact that you've made that mistake? So we named that moment because it can happen in life or it can happen on the court playing the game, and we called it our moment of truth, and we named it. So in your moment of truth, are you going to own the moment that yes, I did really well and celebrate that, or am I going to own the moment and say, actually, I did stuff up, I'll take responsibility for that, and it was a mistake, and I promised my teammates I'll learn from it. So I think that was the biggest strategy that we implemented in our team, and it became a strategy that became part of our team talk. It became part of our environment. So you had to own that moment of truth in front of your peers, in front of your teammates. But that included not only the athletes, but the staff as well. Whether you were administration, you were on the team bench, we all owned where we felt we could do things well and we did things well, or we owned whether we made a mistake. So that was the key winning strategy, to changing the way we thought about things and did things together.
Well, and I really value owning it. What a gift to take responsibility and be accountable for celebrating and for celebrating the learnings, not just the positives.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I think that gives people permission to be themselves, gives them permission to be vulnerable. And I think I had to model that in the first year. It started with me as the head coach.
Yeah, as the leader, definitely live it to give it model, from really taking in the fact that who we are is who we want to surround ourselves with and really model that. And another one of our tools is 10 moments. And so, team, for you listening, our 10 moments are all about on a stat system of 1 to 10. 1 is low, 10 is fabulous. And you just capture those moments that are a 10 for you. And we call them a 10 moment, and then we name them. So Helen, what are some 10 moments in your career?
Um, Oh, there's so many. There's so many that 10 moments would be seeing the players that you work with come from being at school or college, university, and they work their way through to representing their country. So I think being a coach where you have supported or facilitated their learning to get to that point, that's absolutely a 10 moment for me, because that's what we do as a coach. Another 10 moment, if
What do you
I
want
think
to name
about it.
that one?
Sorry?
What do you want to name that one?
Oh, we could name it from the impossible to the I'm possible.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well done. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. If I name a 10 moment as a moment of truth moment, I can definitely think back in the year we won the championship, when we were in a meeting and we were talking about our moment of truth as a team, and we were really drilling down to the depth of the meaning in that moment. And one of our key players in our team, who had a tendency, most talented, to kind of hold other people accountable in that moment of truth, she held herself accountable and went really deep at that moment of time. And I think that was really powerful for the rest of the team. And to own that moment of truth was when the team took off to win, knew they had the belief to win the championship. Another moment of truth was, I would call it full of love, a moment of love, was when we were going out into the grand final that year. We were standing in the tunnel behind the stage. I hadn't had a pre-game talk really. I just said, go out, enjoy the moment, trust your training, trust what you've done, and play for each other. And they stood in the tunnel, and all the players just said, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it kind of rippled down the team line. And I turned to my assistant coach at the same time and I said, they'll win this game, because I knew I didn't have to coach. Like, I knew they were going to go out there, and no matter what was going to happen on that day, they were there for each other, and you could feel it in the energy. So it's those special moments, I think, as a coach, that you really treasure, when people are owning their own space, doing what they love, and no matter what the outcome, they just want to be there and do it for each other.
Yes, so beautiful. And what about some 10 moments personally?
Personally, oh, that's always harder to think about ourselves.
Welcome to high achieving, right? Like our careers, we've got it. We've got all the winning strategies. And personally, it's like, okay, let me figure that one out.
Yeah, I think personally, for me as a coach, if I called that 10 moment, being myself, confident to be my authentic self. I remember there were 2 moments to do that as a coach, where I just said to the people around me who were telling me what I needed to do, telling me what was required. And you get a lot of people who are all experts in high performance telling you as a coach. I actually asked them all to back off and give me space to make the decisions that were right for me, but I had too much noise. And I think as a young coach, you listen to the noise a lot, because you don't want to make a mistake, or you don't want to let people down. So I really think when I did that, that was really powerful for me, because it took me on a journey to know that I needed to work on what was important to me, and how I thought I could be better, and how that could help my team that I was coaching. And I did that on another occasion. I was sitting with a New Zealand coach who's an amazing woman here in New Zealand. She's been knighted Dame Nolene Taurua. She's an amazing woman. And she was challenging me as a peer about how I could be better as a coach. And she said to me, just put a stake in the ground and own the moment. And she didn't tell me what to do, but she put a challenge out to me to do that. And I think that gave me the courage to, we say in New Zealand, sail the direction of my own waka, which is a boat. Get on my waka, sail it in the right direction, and be prepared to sink with the waka if things don't go right. So that was really great moment, and it will always sit with me because I think that's true in life, isn't it? To be authentic.
So
Yeah.
much responsibility, right? In terms of owning all the choices that lead to really how our life takes shape. And so many times we want to own the great things, but not the not so fabulous things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about 10 moments philanthropically because we're a 3D model. So philanthropically is to be a sports philanthropist and to give hope. So who has given you hope in your life? I know you're giving hope by the hour coaching, but just watching your own film, who's given you hope in your life?
I definitely think my mentor that I met at a very young age has always given me hope, not by telling me that I am good at what I do, but by telling me the things most people won't say, but in a kind way. So I think her ability to just talk and sow seeds. I think of the analogy as she rejuvenates my garden and sows the seeds so that there's new plants to be that can bloom in different seasons. And I'm very grateful for her because I know my life journey, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you without her. And the other part that I think giving hope is was really important in our team to bring an attitude of gratitude.
Mhm.
Um, in professional sport, you can have an attitude of it's all about me. And so we really wanted to connect to our community and who were the people that you could give back to inspire them
Right.
to achieve their impossible. So having been in a position to be able to do that and give hope to some of the underprivileged children in our community, some of the people who have felt like they've hit brick walls a lot, but you give them an opportunity to be seen. And we tried to go in with the knowledge that every person we came up had some sort of strength to offer. It was just trying to find the right space for them to shine with the strengths that we saw in them, and then hopefully that would enable them to see more potential in themselves. So we definitely did that as a team, and that attitude of gratitude to give back to our community was always there. Yeah.
That is beautiful. So much when we give hope, we get so much in return. I mean, it's just an amazing currency that just, gives to everybody. So such a blessing from that perspective. And so one thing we've talked about, we've done a series on how women win. We've had lots of great interviews with coaches, and now we're into From Impossible to I'm Possible. And what's really valuable that we have found is teammanship. And that was something that I haven't heard a lot of. Karch Karayas, who brought it up for us, he's heads up our USA volleyball team, and he really talked about what it takes to be a champion. And he anchored in that teamsmanship. Have you used it, thought about it? What are your thoughts on teammanship?
Yeah, I think teammanship as a concept aligns really well with our culture here in New Zealand. So we're ingrained in sport here in the Māori and Pacifica culture, which comes from a grounding in the collective is stronger than the individual would be how I explain it. And where I coach here in Auckland, we are a melting pot of diversity. So we have people from all corners of the world, all corners of the Pacific, including the European people that have settled here from the UK over time. So that collective is a massive thing that plays. It is ingrained in our teammanship. So we always had a philosophy as an individual, how can I be my best self to contribute to the collective? And I think that's what teammanship is. And when you have people that their cultural lens also it comes from that space, I think I was really lucky as a coach because they taught me as much about teammanship as what I could teach them. But I think my role as a leader when it comes to being a really strong collective is when our own biases or when we don't quite see ourselves in the mirror as others see us, my role was how I could open their self-awareness or raise their awareness to moments in time where they may be thinking about themselves and not the team, and how to do that in a way that you're not the dictator or the authoritative person, but you're sowing the seed of self-awareness and raising their awareness. So we learn to think differently about the collective is the most important thing.
So when you watch your film and think about when you've been coaching, what's an example of how you did that in a tough situation? Because again, all this sounds great, and we are so much experiential learners as coaches. And so we want that story so that we really can attach to, yeah, I know when I've done that.
Yeah, I remember one situation where I had a world-class player in my team. She was my captain very early on in my coaching years. And she wanted a week off because other New Zealand players were having the week off, but our club team had a tournament to go and play in. And she was our captain. And it was incredibly important to me that when we go on TV and we play our game and we're away as a team, that we stay as a team, and the collective is important. So I sat down and talked to her about that, and she explained the personal reasons about why she didn't want to play. And I explained the reasons as a collective about the message you give to your team as a leader. If you can't commit for personal reasons, yet you're the leader of our team. It was a really great conversation, and it was a hard conversation to have because I could feel the reasons from a personal point of view were really valid. But when you reframe something into the collective and how those people may view you, and it might eat into, the leadership that they see in you, she could understand where I was coming from. And I also reframed why it was important as a collective to go to this tournament. And it wasn't about the things that were making her tired. So we were going to the tournament to refill our cup. We had a different perspective or goal for going. And she came, and on about day 4, she pulled me into a room on her own. And I remember lying on her bed, and she was sitting on the ground, and she just said, I want to talk to you. And I said, oh, okay, thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
And she said, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for making me come here, because I kind of did, but I didn't tell her she had to come, but I did try and influence her thinking, absolutely, no doubt. And she wanted to thank me because she had had the most amazing week. We'd stayed true to the reasons why we were there. She actually got to know her team as people because she took a break. It was a joy break for her out of the busy pressure and life of traveling and being an international superstar in our sport. And I think what it did is made her a stronger leader, and it brought the team as a collective together because their leader came to the tournament and other players that represented our country didn't go, and it made our team stronger as a collective because that was the standard we decided together as a team. So I think that's the other conversations you need to have, and often players with prestige, a position, a title, who are the names in a sport, get away with different levels of behaviours to the team values. And I think that's how you just chip away at things. And she was a great person, so when I spoke to her, she understood what I was trying to do.
Well, beautiful example of really hard conversations creating great results. And so what have you found have been some of the performance barriers that have gotten in the way of your players being able to push past the me and into we, to really, have that desire to do exactly what you want as a coach, and then not being able to connect it to really their actions? What showed up for you?
Yeah, definitely performance barriers come out of a space of vulnerability. They can come out of a space of vulnerability or feeling like you're not good enough. So there's a lack of confidence, especially with, I just, quite often they come from life rather than the personal side rather than the professional side. So you try and help a person see their potential, and if they took a slightly different path, this is where we could head. But sometimes there's some personal performance barriers there, and in those moments I don't think I'm the person necessarily to help them. You know, they've got to want to do it themselves, but I've got a lot of great people around me to help give different lenses to what might be possible in life. And sometimes it might be as simple as I'm an athlete, I'm a mum, I'm struggling with my sleep right now, I'm really, really tired, but I want to be the best I can be, but I'm not making the right decisions to do that. So it might be their performance life advisor, it might be the sports psychologist, or it might be a friend or a peer that may help them go, well, reframe this situation, what can we do differently? We can help look after your child. Can you get a night's sleep while your child's being cared for? You know, just some of the little things. So I think that vulnerability of fear of failure, of not really knowing or having the confidence to make the decision, or we protect ourselves from the mistakes, is definitely a performance barrier for an individual. And on a bigger scale, I think performance barriers in a professional sporting world have definitely been focusing on the outcome, focusing on the result, focusing on the revenue we need to generate from ticket sales, those sort of things. And I think for me as a coach, that weight of responsibility of some of those commercial things and the perceived look from the outside in was definitely a performance barrier to being our best. And I think that's what I mean by putting a stake in the ground and being authentic to yourself. So I had to learn not to soak that stuff up, social media, all those, and how do you put them to the side and be your authentic self? Because the money comes, the revenue comes, the outcome comes from, you know, sticking true to what's real. So I do remember at one point sitting with my CEO and my board and saying, look, we can win the premiership, the championship tomorrow, but we have to buy a team. We need the money. We need to go and buy the best players, put them together, and I will coach the team and we'll win the championship. Or the other option is we grow our team. We go out and we find the people who may think it's impossible, but we coach them to their possible, and we grow a team. But growing a team takes time, and that's the journey. And I think getting the people who are stakeholders in our team to understand the journey and being okay with the journey, that we will keep building, and these are the things we're doing. Once I learned how to do that, the performance barriers aren't so challenging in that area.
So what did you learn as your action to change? Because I think every person listening has those performance barriers that show up. And so as you learn to communicate really to your support team, both the personal one in terms of the story you were sharing about the player not being able to get some rest, an action to change, being able to ask for help, and really uniting your support team to help with whatever you need. But it comes from internal to say, I need help. So ask for help, receive help, you know, ask for support, receive support. And then what were your actions to change whenever you started to figure out how to build this team?
Yeah, there's a couple of levers, I think, action to change. One thing is learning how to influence up. So, and influence across with my management team and the people I work with, and influence down, not that they're below me, but influence the athletes that I work with. And there's a different way of communicating up, across, and down. And to do that, how do we bring people in and feel a part of what we do through good communication, so that everybody feels valued with the strength that they bring to the table? So that was the biggest action I think I changed. And in performance sport, you can have lots of meetings to talk things through, but then you can have too many meetings to talk things through and not enough action. So I think the thing I learned was getting really, really good with succinct meetings with purpose. And the meetings with purpose weren't me standing up the front, spreading my knowledge or my greatness with everybody else. I brought everybody in, and everybody had a chance of being in those meetings and leading those meetings. So we had our values and our moment of truth, and we talked about our moment of truth, and we looked at the video about our moment of truth. We shared the different perspectives on that moment of truth, whether it was a performance training perspective, whether it was a psych perspective, whether it was a skills perspective, whether it was an energy and attitude perspective through our body language, whatever it was. And it was the players and the athletes, they did that from their perspective. The management did it from their perspective. And sometimes we invited the people up there that we needed to influence, the CEO, the board members, into our family, and they could have a perspective. So they could see and share the quality work as people that was going on. And I think we started our week with the communication. So we started our week. What do we want to achieve this week? What would make this week a 10 across the week? How are we going to show up? How can I be my best individual for the collective to be great? And then during the week, we then did the work and did the mahi, we say here in New Zealand. And we also cross-checked ourselves. Is there too much hui? Hui is a word for a meeting or a gathering. Is there too much hui and not enough doi was another thing we said. So we've got to do it. We've got to get out there and do it. But by starting the week with everyone contributing to the moment of truth, to what we wanted to achieve in the week, we had a reference point to go back to and hold each other accountable to at all times. So it leads all of our communication into performance and takes it away from it being about the person and being emotional.
Yeah, and I really just value so much the ability to have short-term wins, making it 1 week at a time, right? Just winning the week and knowing exactly what you're going for, and everybody being on the journey, huge winning strategy. So another performance barrier that we share globally with our great high achievers is perfectionism. So what have been some of your winning strategies for the athletes and coaches that you've worked with for really learning how to go through perfectionism into just that authentic self?
I think to be in high performance, we all have a bit of perfectionism, don't we? It's we like to be the best. I think it's all tied up in what I've talked about. I think being okay with not being okay. And I think to take away perfectionism, one of our core values within our team was everybody's welcome here. And that was grounded in the diversity piece of having so many different people from many corners of the world or many corners of Auckland. And Auckland, as you know, it's a lot of pockets of different villages, I call them, and different ethnic communities. So when you bring all those different people together, diversity is incredibly important. But with diversity comes challenge and contrast and conflict. So that conflict, it breaks down perfectionism a little bit, because what is perfectionism? What does it look like when you all have such different views on things? So I think a winning strategy to break down perfectionism is you can be yourself here, whatever that means. And a beautiful story I'll tell you, my assistant coach, who is a male, which is very unusual in netball because it's dominantly a female sport, turned up to training with blue hair, spray painted blue hair. He told the team if we won the championship, he would do that. But it was also on the day that he found out that I was leaving from my job as a head coach, that I'd handed in my resignation, and he turned up with blue hair because he told me quietly, I'm feeling blue, so I've got blue hair today. So that's the authenticity of everybody's welcome here. Not many people would do that to show their emotion. but he did that. So what does perfection look like if it's not held up there as a thing? I think a winning strategy is you being yourself breaks it down. Yeah.
Yeah, just really from perfectionism to peace, right? Whether you're wrestling with it or not, it still is something that you can, when you're authentic about it, you can find some peace just in the struggle of figuring it out and knowing we're all struggling with a lot of the same things, that human to human connection. So beautiful
Yeah.
stories and winning strategies. What are your words of wisdom for anyone that's going from impossible to I'm possible?
I think being yourself is your most powerful tool, and that's easier said than done. Especially in the world of sport, where we try to conform, we wear a uniform, we can have rules of how to be. We watch our idols on TV, so sometimes we want to just be like them rather than be ourselves. So I think find your way, a winning strategy to be yourself and be comfortable in your difference, and that being odd's okay because we're all odd in some sort of
We
way.
are all odd in some way. I love owning the odd, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely something I've learned and I hold true. And I think it's easier as you get older and have know yourself through life's journey. What else? What was the question again, Carlette? Sorry.
That's okay. Your words of wisdom for people that are
Oh,
going from impossible to I'm possible.
words of wisdom.
Just kind of as you watch your film, think about when you failed or when it's been hard, or, that person that's listening and they're in a space of not
Yeah.
fabulous right now, right? We all have those seasons.
Yeah, I think when it's hard,
Mhm.
know that this is your moment.
Yes.
This is your moment where you can step into the boiling hot water and give it a try. And I think they are the moments where I've found out what I'm capable of and I've had the greatest learning. So step into the boiling water. Not many people will dip their toe. They talk about it. I call them commentators, but coaches are people that don't just talk about it, they action it as well. So be brave when it's hard to action what you're thinking, what the words are in your head, and be okay with whatever the outcome may be.
Yeah, just having the courage to go for it, right? That's what we tell our athletes all the time as coaches, and really owning it ourselves and really making that step of courage for each one of the actions that we have in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And measure success through the human things that are important, the values that you hold to be true. I think if you measure your success with your team, with your coaching in that space, when the barriers come up from outside or externally, you can speak with power about what you're trying to do, and you can walk away or stay in your own truth to do what's best. Yeah.
Well, beautiful words of wisdom. And this has been such a 10 conversation, a 10 to reconnect with you. Thank you for saying yes and just sharing your life with us. And I know it's been a long time since we've had the joy of being able to be connected. But again, once connected, always connected. That's just from the heart. And New Zealand is such a beautiful place and spirit. And it's near and dear to me. You know that. So very important. So team, it's up to you. Go out and win your week. Go from your impossible to I'm possible, and just think about having courage, enjoying the journey, and most importantly, you and your life matter. Be authentic to you and find ways to make a 10 life. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Carlette.